right, we are back with another episode of our Parcel tutorial series. In the last two episodes, we covered key concepts in Parcel, showed you how to upload a document, and today we're going to dive into grants. So grants allow users, including your application, to access and analyze documents that belong to other identities. So it's really a critical functionality of Parcel and something that you can use, your partners can use, or your users can use to control access to the data that they're providing to your application. If you'd like to follow along, visit docs.oasislabs.com and check out the Managing User Data tutorial. We're going to follow that one for this video, or click the link below in the description. Per usual, I'm joined by Nikhil, our resident Parcel expert and engineer here at Oasis Labs. So Nikhil, let's dive right in. Show me how to set a grant.
Yeah, let's jump right into some code and get everybody tuning in started with making their first grant. So just to recap, we're going to be once again making a TypeScript project to use the Oasis Labs /Parcel TypeScript package. So to highlight a few things that we covered in the previous video, there's only one dependency that you need, and that's the Parcel library itself. You can check out the latest current version on the NPM registry for Parcel, which we'll link in the description. We need one dev dependency since this is a TypeScript project, which is TypeScript. And we have a couple scripts, one to build your project and one to actually run it once it's been built. Cool. Now, without further ado, let's jump into some grant making code. So in this situation, as opposed to the previous video where we uploaded a document, we now have two participants. We have Acme, which is a sandwich making company and is going to be the data sharee in our situation. And we have Bob, who is going to be a sandwich enthusiast and who likes eating sandwiches and is going to be the data sharer in our situation. So the first thing we do, just like we did in the previous video, is we're going to create a Parcel instance. So that's going to have a client ID and a private key that's used to authenticate with Parcel on every request. And the first instance of Parcel we instantiate is for Acme. We'll do something similar for Bob in a minute when Bob comes into the picture. But for now, all we need is Acme. So what Acme is going to do is they're going to upload a document for themselves. This is going to have some data. In this case, egg salad sandwiches are the best, and some metadata, which is just the title of the document and some tags that can be used to search through all of the documents that you've uploaded. Yeah, so Acme in this case is going to upload the document, and that document is going to be owned by themselves by default. So what that means is, as the owners of this document, Acme can download it no problem, just like we did in the previous video. So that document gets downloaded and you'll be able to just read it after it's written to a file on your local file system, in this case named Acme document. Cool. Now let's bring Bob into the picture. So this time we're going to upload the same document as Acme, but give Bob ownership of that document. This is Bob's identity, and we're going to upload it to Bob, which means that Acme should no longer be able to access that document and download it like we did before up here. Yeah, so in fact, we're going to test that out in code. And if we do download this document, if Acme is able to access it, we should come here, and that should not happen. What should happen is this API request should fail, and we should get here where Acme is not able to access Bob's data, and we get some sort of error message. Cool. So what's next? We need to figure out how Acme can get access to Bob's data via a grant. And that's where we finally connect to Bob's identity. So similar to Acme, Bob is going to have a client ID and a private key for authentication with Parcel. And then once they have their Parcel instance in hand, Bob can create a grant. So what does a grant look like? It's super simple. You have a grantee who is going to be the recipient of that grant, and you have a condition that includes a number of selectors and a number of conditions. So in this case, we only have one selector, the document ID, and the condition that it needs to match is that it needs to equal Bob's document ID. So super straightforward. All this is saying is I will let Acme access any of my documents that have the ID of this one that was just uploaded. And yeah, so as you can see, this is super straightforward, and we have a full specification language for these grants that covers more than just specifying a document ID, and we'll link in the description to that and cover it more in a future video as well. Yeah, so with this simple grant, now Acme should be able to download Bob's document after all. Just like before, they're going to try and this time succeed. We're going to write it to a file named Bob's Data by Acme and read it out. The final thing that Bob is able to do is check an audit log using the audit APIs of Parcel of how their documents were used. So here in this for loop, we're going to go through all access events of Bob's document history. In other words, how it was used by people that were granted access, and print that out. So that should print out exactly one access that Acme just made to access that document. And if we have Acme download the document again, and then iterate through the history again, this time we should log two access events, one for the first time and one for the second time that Acme accessed it. Cool. Let's see if all this pans out as expected and run this code. So we're starting to see some output, and let's walk through it and see if everything happened as expected. So the first thing that happened, Acme uploaded some data, which created a document for themselves, and they downloaded the document just as standard upload download works, and that we saw in the first video in this tutorial series. Then next, what they did was they uploaded data for Bob, which created a document. But when Acme tried to access that document, they weren't able to do so. And just as expected, we see the error message that there was an API error with permission denied. Yeah, once that happens, then Bob actually did grant access to Acme, which happens here. And then attempting to access Bob's document now does succeed. And we do get some data in Bob Data by Acme. Exiled sandwich is indeed the best. And the audit logs are viewable. So after that first access, we get one access log, which says that Acme, or in this case, Acme's identity, accessed the document at this timestamp. And then once Acme downloads the document again, now we see two audit logs, both by Acme and at two very close timestamps to one another. And yeah, that's how you create your first grant.
Great, Nikhil. Thanks for walking us through that. So here, obviously, we just focused on downloading the document, but there's a lot more you can do with grants, right? Like you can set, or what other kind of permissions can you set for a particular grant?
Yeah, so in this very simple case, all we did was make a grant that lets users download data. But we don't necessarily always want to let everybody we let access some data to download it, because once a document is downloaded, we kind of lose track of the audit trail of how it's used. So more complex grants let you only allow access within the context of certain compute jobs that are run within confidential contexts. And we'll cover a lot more of that in future tutorials and videos.
Yeah, and I mean, really with those constraints, you can give your users, much stronger guarantees that their data is remaining confidential or that it's only being used for specific use cases or specific functionality. So we'll dive into all that and more in our next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.